Okay, so as I mentioned in the Room Talk video, I finished Kuro 2's postgame. And once again, when talking about the shit show that is Kuro 2, I had to wear the blackjack shirt. I I think this is just what I want to do. If there's something that I really really hated, this is the shirt I'm going to wear. And it is not to say that I 1000% hate everything about Project Horizons. I would say that's a topic for another day, but I don't want to. Because if I get started on Horizons, I will be here for 10 hours. You thought the Kuro 2 video was long? Oh boy. But I don't know. I think it just helps me get in the right mood. As much as I just talked shit on Worm Arc 3, because I had a lot to complain about, it was not. I don't want to say it's not worthy of the blackjack shirt because it makes it sound like it's wasn't good enough for. It's like no. As much problems as I had with it, I'm not busting out the blackjack shirt for that. I think my next Survivor video I'm gonna have to because it made me mad. But I'm rambling. I'm stalling. Let me talk about Kuro 2 and its post game. I didn't have fun. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. Because I kind of was almost-ish having fun. Part of that might be I was listening to some Worm while playing it, and that was neat. Part of it was I was also watching Friendship is Magic while playing it, and that was neat. Because I didn't need to pay attention to what was going on the screen. Because until the very end, there's no story beats that are happening. It's just gameplay. And my characters were so insanely busted that I didn't really need to pay attention to the gameplay. I just played a Shizuna on the overworld, hit buttons, and things died. And then alright, something is stunned, hit square, go into turn-based combat, Shizuna pops her S-Craft, a lot of things die or take a lot of damage, and then just hit buttons. Anya's had EP cut 100%, so all of her insanely powerful spells cost nothing, and just rinse and repeat. When we get to a boss, make sure everyone has 200 CP before then. Okay, go kill it. The bosses are generally not that fun or that interesting. They're okay, they just have too much health. So I've been playing on Nightmare, so they have about 4,500,000 at a minimum, or 500,000, and this one's 700,000. They just feel like damage sponges. And as critical as I was of Kuro 2, and oh boy was I, a lot of the bosses were standouts. The super boss against Shizuna was an all-time fight in the series. The the fight against the twins, I hate the mechanic of you have to kill them at the same time. If it was slightly tweaked to, if you kill one before the other, on the other's next turn, they will end the fight and then you have to start over, that would be fine. It's no, literally both hit zero at the same time. That's stupid. And then afterwards, the game's you can skip this and just skip the fight. Yeah, I'm not going to lose my, points for this. I have to do this. I hate you. But the fight itself is fun. The fight with Elroy is great. The fight with Elroy and the twins is great. There's good boss fights in here, but these monster fights were just boring. And until the final boss, the super boss, they were just long and boring. The garden, I find, is long and boring. It's a Tartarus dungeon. It's random shit. And each little floor is here's the random shit you have to do to get forward. Find these little map things and destroy them, or break some objects, or fight enough of this kind of monster. Big one, medium, small one, and sometimes is that medium? I think it's medium, and then I kill it and I don't get points. Oh, I guess it was too big or too small, or I'm not seeing a lot of small ones. This one looks kind of medium. Oh, I guess that was a small one. What the fuck? I just don't like it. There's one nice thing about Persona 3. It's how do you get to the next floor? Just find the stairs. Whatever. I mean, there might be a lot of enemies on that floor. There might be interesting things there too, but it's just find the stairs. Don't. The game's performance was god awful. Because it would work fine for like 5-10 minutes, and then it would just tank. And then at one point, I went into the game settings, like on my computer, lowered the resolution of the game, and it was like, okay, it seems to be working fine. It seems like it's working just fine. I think it's long enough that I fixed the problem. Never mind, it dropped again. I got to the super boss, beat phase 1, everything was fine. And then in the cutscene in the interim between the phases, it just tanked. And I had to do the super boss with terrible frame rate. And it was ass. And then it killed me, and I had to do it again, which I did. But, let's talk about the super boss. Phase 1 is just kind of boring. So, like, I'll talk about its story significance, if I can call it that, because it doesn't really. It pretends that it does. It tries to. It's not like the true final boss of Reverie, where I'm like, this is really cool from a lore implication. Like, oh my god, I actually get to fight that Septarian that they talked about in Azure. Like, this is, like, basically original Kia. And Azure Arbitrator plays, which is a great fucking song. Like, yeah, this is cool. And I get to make all these separate parties. I'm like, yeah, I get to use new class 7, and Reen gets to have his wife and Toa and his other wife and Kuro. Like, this is great. And I get to use, like, the SSS, and this is super neat. And then I get to use the third party, which I didn't use the Picnic Squad. No offense to them in that game. I'm like, you're giving me the Liberal crew. I'm using the Liberal crew, and they're going to be the anchors. You can't stop me. And it's so cool. Or the true final boss in Cold Steel 2. Not the true Reverie Corridor, but the Reverie Corridor, where you're fighting, like, the other version of the final boss of 1. And the way I kind of look at it is, in Cold Steel 1, you fight the Heartless of this creature, and then at the end of Cold Steel 2, you get to fight its nobody. Like, this is actually really neat. I'm getting into this, and then I get to do stupid shit with that party. Because not only am I playing Cold Steel 2, where people are just nuts, you also get the mirrors, which let me use Crow and Vita, just blowing things up. I got to use Claire, who felt like kind of a monster, and most importantly, I got to use Toa and her Weakener craft, just making the boss super weak to everything. It was insane. It was absurd. This was... I mean, like, in terms of combat, it's like, yeah, I'm using my really strong party, and phase 1 is pretty boring. I'm just kicking its ass. It's summoning Droog, summoning ads that are pretty tanky, but they're not really a threat to me? And then there's phase 2, where the thing is way too fast and has 800,000 HP, and I thought 500,000 was a boring damage sponge. This thing is insane, and at one point it does what all these bosses do, which go, huh, and then their stats go up, which is fine, and then also I'm going to recover anywhere from like 50 to 80,000 HP. He healed 86,000. Like, why? Why did you heal so much? That's so much! It takes a lot of turns to get that number down. I have to do it again? And it's not even that it's hard. It's just long. It's just wasting my time. And the garden, the way it's designed, feel like it's wasting my time. And the fact that the frame rate keeps dipping, it's wasting my time. It never stopped doing that. I guess I give it points for consistency. It did kill me once, and I said, like, I will try this again. But I don't want to, because I'm not. Sorry, there was a phone call that came in. It was spam, and I was like, I hope that did not fuck with the filming. It doesn't look like it did. What was I saying? Fuck. Oh, the way I died. So I had my A team is Van, Anyas, Shizuna, and either Aaron or Ren, just kind of depending on the situation, but it was mostly Aaron. Where everyone at full, I had, like, my characters were at full health with shields, like Aegis shield up, and they died. I think when I died, either they weren't at full health with their shields, or like they're somehow the math didn't quite work out. But I was like, dude, they had almost all of their health and shields up, and they still died. This is insane. When I beat it, it was if my characters are at full health, and not Van in his Grundle mode, but if everyone is at full health with shields up, Anyas will still die. Aaron and Shizuna will barely survive. They'll have like 500 hit points left when their max health is like doubled, like 12,000, 17. Like, I don't think they're quite that high, but they'll have like 12,000 or so. So that's how much damage this thing is doing. With my B team being Ren, again, Ren and Aaron were kind of on flex. Fee, because you're going to give me Fee, I'm going to use Fee. I need another evade tank. Celis, who didn't really do anything. I just think she's neat, so I kept her there. And Judith, who Judith was usually there, like, if I just kind of, like, need to cast Celestial real quick, I can sub her in, she'll have stealth, and I can just bring everybody back, and then when it gets back to her turn, sub her out for whoever, which was usually Shizuna. Like, I'm going to give Shizuna a break, heal everybody, Shizuna back out, and make things die. Which, I mean, it's kind of almost fun. For me, it's... The bosses weren't interesting enough, and they were way too tanky for the game to really feel that fun. I talked about how I don't like the S-Craft system, and it's like, yeah, like, you can... We designed this system for you to spam your S-Crafts, but also made it so you kind of can't, and then, like, hey, you can use your S-Craft, but, oh, you used it a little bit ago, so it's on a delay now. I hate this. Or how Van in his Grundle mode, like, I can S-Break, which means he can, like, I can S-Break for him so he can use his S-Craft right now. But I can't put it in his combo because I want him to be able to hit something, and then end with an S-Craft for maximum damage, and I just can't do that because the game won't let me, because this system doesn't make sense. Or how, like, when an enemy is stunned, it's not like they're stunned until their next turn, so you can wail on them. It's, yeah, you just get a couple turns and hope you're not trying to cast a spell, because that counts as one of those turns, and I just don't like a lot of the systems in Kuro and how they're implemented. And like I had said in my Kuro 2 video, like, I feel like in Kuro 1, I got used to them, and even if I didn't like them, I tolerated them, and by Kuro 2, I'm like, dude, I just hate this. I don't like how this game plays. Is there anything else I want to say before actually talking about the plot stuff? Bosses are sponges. Yep. Okay. So like I said, the true final bosses in Reverie and Cold Steel 2, because off the top of my head, those are the only Trails games with post games? Is there one in 3? Like, I know there's like a super boss in 3, or like Sky the Third, because there's the arena where you get to fight Luve and Cassius at the same time. And then if you go to the depths of hell, there's that super shining palm. They're not like super lore heavy, but they are like really cool. This, you fight a demon, and then after you kick its ass, and it gets a lot weaker, and everyone's like, oh, look, it's crumbling away. Now it's showing its true form, which is way weaker. Let's beat its ass. And I'm thinking to myself, this feels like it's setting up an OG Trails final boss, where you beat the shit out of it, and then it still gets up, but is super weak, and the game is just like, this isn't really a fight, it's just catharsis. Blow your S-Crafts on it, and kick its ass, like you do at the end of the first Sky, and you do at the end of 0. Instead, no, it's a full-on boss fight, and even though it's like, yeah, it's a lot weaker now, it's a way stronger entity. It's, you know what it is? It's the opposite of the fight against Ishmelga from Cold Steel 4. Because the way the Ishmelga fight in Cold Steel 4 is written, it's like, hey, now it's its true, like, it's at its true form, it's at its peak, but we can fight it. Now that it's exposed its true self, we can kill it. But it feels like one of those S-Craft blasting things because the fight is so ludicrously easy. You are obliterating it. You are destroying it. Even though they hype it up as like, it is this ultimate beast and it is most powerful, it's really not. This is like, oh man, it's super easy to kill now. Let's put it out of its misery. I almost feel sorry for it. And then, no, like it's super tanky and does a lot of damage and can basically insta-kill the party whenever it feels like. And also could just say, I've healed 86,000 HP. Fuck you and all the effort it took to get me down here. In terms of its plot, what is it? So, Augusti, the dude, the main antagonist of the game that I already said, I was like, I did not care about this dude. I did not find him interesting. He found a book belonging to the DG cult, or the D therefore G cult, that they got from the Septarian Church. And he used that book to summon a demon into the garden, so into the technology. So it is literally a Diablos Ex Machina, which I think is kind of funny. It's literally a devil in the machine. And because they talk about, like, this is the source of all the erosion, which, if I'm remembering correctly, like, whenever someone was becoming an asshole, and you'd have, like, Ashen going, you killed Sao, you pieces of shit, or you've got, Fairy's brother, I can't remember his name, who, I don't even remember the circumstances, because, wow, I thought these were all so stupid. It's essentially, it's like, what is going on? There is literally a demon possessing and influencing people and making them do stupid shit. This asshole is the reason a lot of the game happened and why that terrible third act happened. Also, it's Swin's fault for giving the dude the full completed Genesis, and I will never forgive Swin for making me play that part of the game. He is on side like, no, buddy. You are not going to be in my party. You are going to be nowhere near my party. If I have the chance in future games to not put you in my party, I will do that, because I will never forgive you for this part of Kuro 2. Just so long as we understand each other. Because, wow, I hated it. And I liked Swin. I liked Swin quite a bit. It is on site now. But anyways, the dude made a demon, but it's not a real demon because it's in a computer, but it thinks it's a real demon, and it's acting like a real demon, and everyone's like, man, it's... Yeah, I feel kind of sorry for it because it thinks it's hot shit, and it's just not. Like, I don't feel sorry for it. I don't care. Also, it contributed to some of the worst shit in the game. So I don't feel sorry for it, and I don't even feel catharsis beating its ass, because it's just not fun. But at the very least, it explains, yeah, this is where the literal demonic possession is coming from. So there's that. After you kill it, you get this little scene of Professor Hamilton at the observatory, and she's like, oh, thank you, Dingo, for what you did and for making sure I had the time to do what I needed to do. Because I don't remember if at the end of the game, if Dingo specifically says, he's like, yeah, after I died and my soul went into the Genesis. I still think it's fucking stupid. Or it's like, it's not the real Dingo, and it's like an AI copy. Whatever the fuck it was. Like, this is stupid. I don't care about this. What I really hate about it is, the whole, you got a message from C, and I'm like, oh, that's Rufus. That makes so much sense. It's like, no, it can't be Rufus. It has to be Dingo Brad, because C is in between D and B. Dawn. Why? Like, I think if it was Rufus, it's like, yeah, Rufus is here paying attention to things. I can buy that. he has a Lapis helping him. I can buy this. That makes more sense to me than Swin and Nadia going, we totally lost sight of Lapis, and now she's been captured by a demon. It's so dumb. I really hate so much of this game and its story. Oh boy, but this sounds really cruel and heartless, and I won't deny that. I don't like how it gives people a chance to say goodbye to Dingo. Because that's what makes his death effective. Not just the fact that he died, not just that he went out like a boss. The people who loved him didn't get to say goodbye. That's tragic. And then it's like, no, he gets to say goodbye and be like, this is how far you've grown and everything. Like, is it sweet? It's sweet. But to me, it doesn't completely ruin his death, but it takes some of the impact off it. Something Horizons would actually know quite a bit about. Oh gosh. Actually, Horizons does that with multiple characters. Anyways, point. Where was I? So Hamilton thinks Dingo, so I'm like, so I guess Dingo was the one doing all the resets. He's like, okay, if the people I'm trying to help keep fucking up, I have to fix this so they don't fuck up. And she's blah, blah, blah. There's also, there's a radio announcer who's like, hey, the government's going to give a big announcement tomorrow, but it won't be anything bad, and we don't see what the announcement is. And that's it. So, what did I learn from this? Hamilton and Dingo were close, and I guess Dingo was partially responsible for the time travel stuff. It's like, okay. This was the source of the erosion. It was a literal demon did it, which is, I don't know, it's so silly, it's kind of funny to me. And the government's gonna announce something. And from the screenshots we've seen of Farewell Ozemiri, I'm like, are we going to space? That might be fun. That might be kind of cool. Can we go to space? I don't know. But, the way I felt when I finished these, extra 5 or 6 hours, I was like, okay, this was it. This is what I'm fighting at the end. It's not like a Septarian or something really cool or interesting. It's a fake demon made by a dude I didn't care about. That gives me a little bit of information and is mostly, there to tease stuff, which is fine in its own way. When Reverie, after the true final boss, is we're going to give you some teasers for Kuro, and you get, this is Ren's story in the school, which is really fun, and you get Rin meeting Shizuna for the first time, which is really interesting. You're like, this character is cool and crazy, and having now played Kuro, yes, she is. She's amazing. And you get this really cool, hype introduction to Elaine. That is a phenomenal teaser for the next game. This was hey, we're going to tell you something important in the next game. Stay tuned, and that's it. I literally said to myself, this game had the audacity to have a post-game. Which, that's how you know I hate this game. I'm like, the game gives me more content, and I'm mad that it gave me more content, expected me to play it, and gave me a bit of a reward for playing it. Because to me, not only was the journey to get to that extra content so underwhelming and unfun, but the reward I received felt also just so underwhelming. I don't remember what the score I gave Kuro 2 was. I think I gave it a 5 out of 15. And after playing the post-game with the terrible performance, these long boss fights that aren't fun, and extra story information that just wasn't very interesting to me, I'm like, I hate the game more than I did before, which I didn't think I could. So, props to Kuro 2 for exceeding my expectations in some regard, but wow. And I finally did some of the extra shit in Kingdom Hearts 3, which is a game that I just hated. And I loved it. The Remind data fights are And then the fight against Yozora is... And then... this. That's all I really have to say. What did I said it would be about a 5 to 10 minute video. Of course, it's 25 minutes. I was a lot longer than I expected. You know, funny enough, the room talk video was like 9 minutes. That's about how long I thought this would be, and this is generally the length of a room talk video. Kind of funny how those got flipped, but that's Kuro 2. I'm done with it. I don't have to play it ever again. I don't have to really think about it ever again. I probably still will, because it probably won't leave me alone. This has never left me alone, but I don't think Kuro 2 has quite the staying power as old Blackjack. But that's it for this one. I'll see you.